Catherine Connolly.
Mr. Mike, it's a very specific question. The legacy framework rising from Galway 2020, when the framework will be published, the delay so far and the reasons why it hasn't been published, and a breakdown of the remaining million given by your department. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Deputy. And a key objective of the overall European Capital of Culture is the development of a legacy framework to sustain and build on the capacity, networks and opportunities arising from the Galway 2020 cultural programme. To develop the legacy framework, an extensive consultation process was undertaken by Galway 2020, which included stakeholders such as local artists, cultural organisations, community organisations and local state and business entities. The independent evaluation of Galway 2020 of Culture was conducted by the monitoring and evaluation organisation, the Audience Agency, who assessed the outcomes and impacts of the delivery of the Galway 2020 from its designation in 2016 to the end of its delivery period in April 2021. The key recommendations from this independent evaluation were also taken into account, along with the consultation with local stakeholders when developing the legacy framework. My officials engaged with Galway 2020 and Galway City and County Councils on the development of the legacy programme aims and actions, and as the Deputy is aware, in December 2022 I approved the allocation of the remaining €1 million from my department's overall commitment of €15 million to Galway European Capital of Culture to support the delivery of the programme under the proposed legacy framework. I am informed that the website of the Galway Culture Company is currently undergoing an update, and it is my understanding now that the legacy framework will be published on the website in the coming weeks. As soon as I have confirmation of the exact date, I will inform the Deputy. The key high-level programme aims and actions under the legacy framework are outlined on the website of the Galway Culture Company. The €1 million funding from my department will be broken down to support the delivery of these programme aims as follows: €300,000 to facilitate EU and international relationships and funding, €500,000 to develop and support place-based cultural programming, €200,000 to provide support to the cultural and creative sector. Through the legacy framework, the artistic and cultural sector will have the opportunity to access the funding through a series of open calls, partnerships and funding applications to relevant EU programmes, opportunities for presentation in other European countries and targeted capacities building supports. As opportunities arise, they will be published on the website of Galway Culture Company, and this will allow for the €1 million department funding to be targeted in full to projects and initiatives to support the artistic and cultural sector in the Galway region.
Thank you, Deputy.
You know the background to this, and we were all very proud in Galway, and then it was bedevilled by bad luck, by bad weather, by COVID and by bad management, without a doubt. I'm saying that publicly. And now the legacy, foolishly we thought maybe there would be infrastructure, and maybe in my second contribution I'll come back to the language in relation to what's not physical infrastructure. But why I'm following up on this is because I sat on the Public Accounts Committee and we brought it to the attention of the department to monitor carefully what was going on in terms of the 15 million. So now in February 23 of this year I was told the legacy framework will be published on the website of Galway Culture Company. So we've a new company, Galway Culture Company, and that will be during the month of March. We're now in May. So my specific question, what was the delay? I welcome the website. I welcome that it's bilingual. I know there are very good people on the ground, but the history of this forces me to stand up here and make sure that the whole situation is monitored closely.
Thank you, Deputy Minister.
Thank you. And as you know, in terms of what the legacy aims to do, it looks to bring together key agencies and stakeholders in Galway to devise and derive, a creative vision for Galway. And the legacy programme has been designed based on extensive consultation with the sector and the lessons from the evaluation carried out in Galway 2020. I believe there has been no delay in the finalisation of the legacy framework. Galway 2020 engaged in extensive consultation with stakeholders as part of legacy development. It also reviewed and took into account key findings and recommendations from the independent evaluation of Galway 2020 by the Audience Agency, including recommendations to sustain and build and establish networks of national European level, as well as further enhancing the capacity of the sector, particularly in light of the impact of the pandemic on the delivery. So I think it's about getting it right, and it's that key engagement with the local stakeholders to make sure that their views were taken into account, and also to make sure that it took account of the evaluation.
Thank you, Minister.
Perhaps I know there's a lot on your plate, but you're missing the point that a Galway Culture Company was established on the 23rd January 23. That's a successor. So that's a successor to the Capital of Culture. And then in February, we're told the legacy framework will be published on the website in March. We're now in May. Now, I know there can be delays, but I'm looking at the history of this. I have a library of questions and answers in relation to it, and the language doesn't help. I welcome to be positive that there will be open bids and that it would be open to everyone. But look at this language, and I'm not sure if we're caught because of European language, but just listen to this for a moment. 300,000 to facilitate EU and international relationships and funding. 500,000 to develop and support place-based cultural programming, 200,000 to provide supports to the cultural and creative sector. Do you know what that means? The last one maybe, oh please don't explain it to me. What I'm asking here is, do you think when you say to facilitate EU and international relationships, that means something to the artists on the ground in Galway when we see that much money going in a direction that's very vague? That's why monitoring is very important.
Minister.
So in relation, facilitating that international EU relationships and funding, so putting in place, examples of it would be a network or ecosystem that has been established to increase the number of applications for EU funding being progressed from Galway, and that would bring more funding into the city. It will allow learnings and advice, training opportunities and policy updates to be shared to help the success of Galway-based applications and to build contacts, networks and partnerships. So it's about increasing the international links formed through the City of Culture experience to improve cultural life in Galway. So one example would be the EU Japan Fest. So the band with 60 of Japan's finest young wind and brass players spent 5 days in Galway in September last year. They delivered concerts in schools and met with Galway school children and participated in their classes. And that Galway visit culminated in a free performance featuring music from Ireland and Japan in the Galway Cathedral in September last year. So that's what that's about. I know you mentioned as well the physical infrastructure. I think we had this discussion in February as well. It's just the department's commitment of the €15 million to Galway's European Capital of Culture was provided. It did not make provisions it did not make a provision for capital infrastructure.
Thank you, Minister.